Hello to Talking To. I am Justin Hearn, and I am a host on this magnificent show. And we thank you guys for tuning in. Go ahead, do me a favor. If you're watching on Facebook, go ahead, like and share this post. Let everybody know that we're live and we're here. It's the beginning of a new year. And with that being said, I want to introduce my two co-hosts. First, Rufus, Beal, what's going on, sir?
What's going on, Justin? How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
You
I'm doing
doing
good.
good?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. It's a wonderful day. The sun is shining. A little cold, but we making it
Yeah.
work and make it happen.
Hey, man, that hat is you, man. I just want to let you
Thank
know
you.
that's your hat right
Is that
there.
my
That's
hat?
your hat.
Because
That's your hat.
what's underneath it is you wouldn't want.
And to the essence of this show.
Yes.
How you doing, JoAnne?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing good. I have no complaints. I have no
Awesome.
complaints. I see you still got your Christmas tree up.
I sure do.
It's looking
Okay,
all
now what's the
lovely up.
rule? What's the rule? Is it January 1st? Is it Valentine's Day? What's the rule?
Not that long. Not Valentine's.
That's
No.
Day.
Like
Oops.
Martin Luther King birthday is kind of like
Yo, okay.
You're
my
cut off.
cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My tree is still up. I'm not going, you let me put you in. I'll
I'm
use
getting
it in
a
my background
reveal.
for a second.
All
There
right
you go.
now.
It's
Yes.
it,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
still
Yes.
there. Still there.
I see the
However,
initial
you
for
see
your
the
wife's
initials?
name.
Yep. Let me give it some light if I
All
can
right,
real
put
quick.
light on the subject.
Uh there we go. Let me flip this thing around. Can I flip it around? I don't think I can. But you see it?
Oh
Oh,
yes. That's
it's
beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it is.
It's
Who did
beautiful. I
that?
love the star.
I
So
know.
I put it together and my wife decorated. That's what we did. We teamworked it.
Well, you all team worked it well.
We put it together. I put it together and she
Awesome.
decorated it. Yep. So, it's an exciting time.
Yes, it is.
I don't know about for you guys, but it's the beginning of a new year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy and thankful. And I know you guys may not, or I know some of you know, but I have COVID right now. You know, um, it's kind of crazy. Like it took me 2 years to get it, so I'm
Wow.
extremely thankful for that. And for the most part, I've been pretty much asymptomatic. So
Mm-hmm.
my wife started to feel sick on Christmas. She started
Mm.
to feel a little sick, whatever. And I was like, because 2 weeks prior I had like a sinus infection, and I was not diagnosed by a doctor, but diagnosed by me. I just had like a stuffy nose, whatever. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, oh, okay, I think you fine. She was like, no, I got the chills. I said, okay. I said, all right, we're gonna get you a COVID test. So we couldn't get her a COVID test until Monday.
Mm.
Monday, she tested positive. We had an at-home test. I took a test as well. I tested negative. I'm feeling fine. I'm like, we all good. So then she was like, nah, I'm gonna go to CVS and do like a PCR test or whatever. She was like, and you should go too. So I went and got a test from the city. By Wednesday, I had to wait, and by Wednesday I got my test, and sure enough, it was positive. But
Wow.
it was like I was feeling fine the whole time up until the lady came to my car and was like, "You got COVID." It was like instantly, like this
In your
tingling
head.
sensation in my nose just came up on me, and I was just like, "I'm sick." Like it's so crazy.
No, no, no.
It's so crazy. Like I just think that like the placebo effect, man, be real.
It's real.
Um, it's real because I'm telling you, like I instantly, I started to feel like a little weak when I was driving home and stuff like that. And I was just like, nah, I thought to myself, now I was fine this whole time up until I got the diagnosis. I said, Justin, ain't nothing wrong with you, okay? And I had to tell myself that. And then from there, I've been good. I've been good. I haven't had any symptoms. I've been locked up in the house all week with my wife. My wife showed she had very mild symptoms or whatever, and we've been good. The boys been here, whatever. They're not showing any signs. She just
Okay.
actually took Colin to go get tested or whatever. So it's like, we've escaped. I mean, this pandemic 2 years in, neither one of us never got it, never
Yes.
had it, never even was sick during it for real. And so it was just like, wow. And so it was just a big eye opener, that, it's not if, it's when.
Mhm.
Is when. And I know that, people, to be vaccinated or to be unvaccinated has been this huge political thing. But I'm a firm believer that, I believe that me and my wife didn't have any symptoms, or, because we were vaccinated, because,
Right.
our body's protected. So I just want to let one of you guys to just chime in on that. And how do you guys feel? Are you guys vaccinated? If you are, why did you get it? And if you're not, what's your reason for not doing it?
Well, I'm fully vaccinated. I'm prepared to
Okay.
get my booster shot. You know
Okay.
what? I did it because I wanted to stick around here,
Okay.
really. And
Yeah.
that there were so many debates whether to get, whether to not get. But I'm thinking, I shouldn't say it like that. I have things that have entered into my body from other vaccines that have been there for years. Like, I don't even, like when you get ready to go to school from the very beginning, you get all of those shots.
Right.
And I was never hesitant about thinking, oh, they tested on me, because that really doesn't matter if they're testing or not. Because if you want to get got, they can actually do it.
They can get you. Okay.
That's
for sure.
the truth.
Yeah,
for sure.
Look at all that lead in the water up there in Flint.
Yeah.
For years, drinking water.
Yeah.
The water.
Crazy.
So I didn't have any problem getting it at all. I heard some horror stories after people were vaccinated, but I was all gun ho.
Yeah, and I'm fully vaccinated and boosted.
Oh, you're boosted too? Okay.
Boosted,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm getting boosted next. I think I got to wait 14 days or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when they first talked about the vaccine, I was like, heck no, they're not gonna be experimenting on me. But then as I, calmed down and then did my research and really talked to a lot of people, medical people, and just actually doing some reading, for myself, realized that it's really not as new as we think it is.
Right.
It's newer, but it's really, they've been working on this for years. And they just hadn't finished the last part of it. And so, that's kind of why when President Obama was in office, he put the pandemic team in play because they knew something was coming down the line.
Exactly.
And so when Trump was in office, he dismantled the whole pandemic team. And that's why it got as bad as it, because now there's nobody. He thought he was doctor, lawyer, he acted like he was everything and knew everything about everything. But once I did the research, my husband and I did the research, we were like, okay, and then most of all, praying to God and knowing, even if they tested on us, God, you got us.
Exactly.
You got us. Yeah.
You got us.
Yeah.
And so I'm like you, I'd rather be here. And I mean, because we see the evidence now. And I think the misunderstanding was that if you get vaccinated, you're not going to get it. And then all of a sudden people that were vaccinated got it. And people like, see, I told you it wasn't going to work. But they never said that.
They never said
that. It's just that you won't, just like you and your wife, Justin, you won't be as sick. You probably won't end up in the hospital. You probably won't die. You know, and it depends. Everybody's different. Depends on what's going on in your body, what diseases you have, whether it's diabetes, high blood. I mean, all that stuff, a lot of different things come into play.
Definitely.
So, I would encourage people to get vaccinated.
Yeah. I got vaccinated, and me and my wife got vaccinated from a very selfish place. And we were planning to go to Europe, and I told her, I said, man, I was reading. I love reading. I was reading. I said, we might as well just go ahead and get the vaccine, because I'm pretty sure that by the time that this trip comes, they're going to say it's required. And I said, you don't want to be behind it, because they want you fully vaccinated. And at that time, I didn't know how long, before you had to get the first shot, second shot. So I said, let's just go ahead and do it. And, if anything happens, we did it together,
Okay.
So that was,
we lit it there.
you're right, that was the reason we did it. So I ended up getting Pfizer, and she ended up getting like Johnson or whatever.
Mhm.
So we kind of did it from that selfish place of we're only going to do it because we don't want to cancel our trip. But in that, we instantly saw that hey, it was the right decision. It was the best decision. And I just want to give a shout out real quick to Sergeant Raymond Hughes of Detroit Police Department. He passed away a couple weeks ago
I saw that.
due to complications of COVID. Great guy, awesome guy, great husband, 6-year-old daughter, 41 years old. No pre-existing health conditions.
Mhm.
COVID got a hold of him, and and within a week's time, he was dead.
Really?
So COVID is not nothing to play with. So I would urge everybody, and this is not we're not getting paid to say this.
Right.
It's rather be safe than be sorry. And this is the dramatic. Now, when it comes, I think I'm like the king of analogies. I'm going to go ahead and put that crown on top of my head. I'm the king of
Okay, it's
analogies.
there.
It's there. So this is my analogy. And my analogies tend to be very extreme and humorous. Okay, so we'll check it on this one. To me, to not get the vaccine, and people say, well, I'm not putting it in my body. I think that's so stupid when we go to McDonald's, we go to Burger King, we go to
Yeah.
Applebee's. We don't know where they getting this food from. You know what I'm saying? We don't
We
know
know.
where. We don't know. We eat Chinese food. Now they've been saying for years that Chinese food is rats and cats, and
Hmm.
most of us still eat it. And you don't know what's in that kitchen, and you still put that food in your body.
You never
So
know.
if you put that in your body,
You
how in the world can you groan and complain about putting the vet out? I don't know what they doing to me. You don't even know what you ate last night. You hope it was chicken. You know what I'm saying?
never.
That's the truth. That's the
And
truth.
and that's just crazy to me. And I think the other thing that's crazy to me is that people not being responsible. Okay, if you have COVID, you tested positive, stay in the house, quarantine, at least have a negative test before you go back out.
Yes.
People are not doing that. They're rushing right back out, and it's like take advantage. We got Instacart now, so you can get your groceries delivered right to your
Right.
house. You got
Yes.
DoorDash, you can get dinner delivered, and you know what I mean. And that's if you don't have family and friends and loved ones. So
I agree.
there are means out here to
Yes.
be safe, and we have to be a little bit more responsible. But on a lighter note,
But
on a
but
lighter
before
note.
you go to
Okay, go ahead.
that,
Go
I'm
ahead.
going to say it's very important that we as adults
Yes.
read and
Yes.
research. That
Yes.
is the problem that we encounter because
Yes.
I'm just going to take your word, Fluky Joe. Oh, they put poison in the vaccine. Oh, well, I'm not getting it.
Mm-hmm.
Take the time to do the research.
Do the
And
research.
that is the bottom line. That is what we don't do.
We don't do.
Mm-hmm.
We and everybody, well, so and she's a doctor and he's a this and they're that, and they say it. But what research have you done for
Have you done for
yourself?
yourself?
For yourself.
And
Yeah.
what kills me is a lot of Christians who believe that this is the last day plague, who believe that, first of all, then you're not reading the same Bible I'm reading.
True.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
Because
good.
this is not the description of the last
The
day
last
plague.
exactly.
You're right.
And
It's not.
so, and then even with Justin, when we were coming up,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember when the computers first came out, home computers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's of the devil. Oh,
Yes.
I mean, oh my goodness. And this was Christians across the board. It wasn't just one that it was just Christians across the board.
Mhm.
Then
Mhm.
when the
Internet.
cell phones came out, oh, that's of the devil. Oh, da, da.
Mm.
When the chips came out on the cards, our credit cards and debit
Mhm.
cards, oh,
Mm.
that's of the devil.
The
Oh,
mark of the
so it was
beast.
all of these. It's all of these. It's like, come on, people. And so
Yeah.
then now, we're hearing this from certain religious religious denominations. I guess I should
Okay.
say
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that, oh, this is the Antichrist. This is the that. And I mean, read for yourself. Read,
Mhm.
study. That just shows me that you're not
You're not
studying.
studying.
And some people read, but they don't study, and there's a difference.
There is.
There's a huge difference.
There's a huge difference.
Huge difference. JoAnne, you brought up an interesting point. And that point is that oftentimes as Christians and believers, when we we call them UFOs, like these unidentified flying objects, right? We call them UFOs. But in the Christian sense, it's like whenever we hear something, see something that's not accustomed to us, we instantly label it demonic.
Yes.
Instantly. If it's outside of what we know and what we do, it's demonic. And that is just like beyond me. And this brings back up a conversation I had, or it was a Facebook post actually. It was, did you guys see the Disney special on Disney Plus that Beyonce did?
I didn't see it.
No.
Okay.
Is it called I Am King, or I gotta look it up. But she did a special on Disney. Very theatric performances. She went and found what she believed to be her roots and where she comes from. So there's a lot of stuff there's a lot of symbolism inside the artwork. It is art. It is a video. It is this. And you can be seeing, sometimes people are doing some type of rituals or whatever. I don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? I don't know. But what I heard from the church community is that, oh my God, Beyonce is just so demonic. She's so demonic. She's so demonic. She's so demonic. See this and this and this and this. And it's like, okay, now does Beyonce did some questionable things that I might be like, I don't know about that. Yes. But when I looked at the video and I saw the production, I tried to look with not a Christian eye, just a regular human being.
Okay.
And what I realized is that these things and these sounds and these culture things that they're doing, I cannot identify. So before I call this thing demonic, I need to go do the research and read and figure out, what are they doing? What does that chant mean? What does that mean? And I say this, and I say this very, very lightly, but God is going to be relative to where you live, to where you grew up, and to how you were raised. You see what I'm saying? I grew up in the Church of God in Christ. So I grew up believing in speaking in tongues, believing in the fire and baptism of the Holy Ghost. And and I only grew up believing that because my mother took me to a Church of God in Christ.
Right.
Had I went to a Seventh-day Adventist church, I would have thought differently. Had I went to a Jehovah's Witness church, I would have thought differently. I think that I would have still ended up at the same place of spiritual awareness that I have, but my upbringing is my upbringing and my beginning is my beginning. So when we talk about Black people who were taken from Africa or taken all over the world and westernized, we don't know how we would naturally communicate with God. We know the westernized way, that the way that they do worship, the way that they honor God. But who's to say that if we would have grew up in Africa, that our spiritual practices would be completely different? That doesn't discredit that Jesus is Lord, but the way that we get there and the way that we interact with that would be totally different. And I think that as Christians, we got to stop calling stuff demonic that we don't understand.
And see, one factor that I totally agree with you is that our norms are based and founded on what we know and what we see as children. So if I'm in a household and we're not going to church, then I may not have any kind of understanding of that. And like you said, if I'm doing a different type of denomination, what my parents are saying about ABC, this is going to formulate my thinking, what I'm going to do, how I may plan and journey my life because of the norms. The first people that you know or that you meet are your cousins, your siblings, your aunts, and your uncles. That's it.
Very true.
That's it.
Very true.
That is so true.
And
it's something how I've traveled a lot, different cultures and different places. And, and I like to, when I travel, and my husband is like this now, is we like to get into the real. So if I'm in Puerto Rico, if I'm in Africa, we're not doing the touristy stuff. We like to get into the heart. So we don't rent the taxis from the hotel. We go out and I've even been to countries. I've got on the bus you know,
Really?
because I want to. So when you talk about even like Hawaii, even though that's part of the United States, but when you talk to the people who are there, and I'm taking it to a different place. I'm just gonna give you an example of Hawaii.
Okay.
Talking to some of the people in Hawaii, the true Hawaiians. Now, most of the people we think are Hawaiians are not. They're Japanese descendants. So when you find the true Hawaiians, and they look totally different than the Japanese. Remember how we used to call, and I'm not trying to be offensive, but we used to call white people hunkies.
Right.
Well, they call them howlies.
They call them what?
Howlies.
Howling. Okay.
Howlies. And so, and I've ran across this with all the places I've traveled, talking to this one guy, and he's like, you know, the white person came over here and everything we did, all of our traditions, they were trying to tell us about God, but it was like their God, and everything we were doing was totally wrong, and everything we were doing was demonic, and everything we were doing had spiritualistic, you know, was spiritualism and all that kind of stuff. And when you talk to different people from different, and they are all saying the same thing. So we have been westernized or Europeanized as far as how we worship, how we view God, how we see God. So when you look at Africa, and I haven't seen this video, so I can't speak on that. But when you look at some of the things, the culture, the dances, the things that they did, that's how they worshipped.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Therefore, and so when white people as missionaries, quote unquote, went over, they told them that they could not do these things anymore. But that was their culture, and they meant certain things. Right. You know, certain dances mean certain things. Certain ways you wear your hair means certain things. The rings, and now you see people doing it all the time. The rings in the nose, I mean, in the ears, and how they get bigger mean certain things. That meant, you know, your hierarchy in your what I want to say, your village.
Your village, okay.
You know, so all of these things meant things. But because we're not used to it and we don't see it every day, as soon as we see some of those things, now all of a sudden, oh, that must be demonic.
It's demonic. And it's crazy because that was strategically done to break us away from our own traditions.
To break us away.
So,
and not just us, but all these other nationalities. To break us, you know, you know, when you talk about the Hispanics, when you're talking about like in Puerto Rico, you know, all this kind of stuff, you know, talking to these people, and they all go back to the same story.
That's right.
Story. Yeah.
To the same story.
I think what's really interesting about that, and I'm losing my train of thought. What's interesting about that, I was about to say, shoot, I lost my train of thought. But what I do want to say is I had this other example of now. So I went down to New Orleans, and I love New Orleans. New Orleans is a lovely place. I've been trying to. So I'm trying to hit all the United States. I'm really focused on international travel. Okay. But it's like I hate going to the same place. So I was telling my wife, like, because we usually go to Valentine's Day, we usually go to New Orleans, and I'm like, I don't want to go to New Orleans because we always go there. But the culture and the food is just so amazing, and the experience is always nice. Like, I just want to get back. But this last time we went to New Orleans or whatever, they called it this Haunted Ghost Tour, or something like that, Haunted Ghost Tour. Now, usually as a Christian, that's something I'm like, I'm not doing that, like, completely, like, I'm not playing with it. I ain't doing nothing haunted.
Pass.
So, right, I'm just like, I'm not doing it. However, this time I was there with some counterparts who, you know, who don't have spirit. Our spirituality is different or whatever. And they was like, you know, hey, you know, they was like, hey, you know, it ain't, you know what I'm saying? It ain't no big deal. If you feel uncomfortable, there's a bus. You can just stay on the bus. And I was like, oh, yeah, right. You know, I can stay on the bus. So we did this tour. And the first place they took us to on this tour is this old psychiatric hospital that now LSU has bought and is rehabbing, whatever. And so they're like, you know, this place, many people died in here. If you hold your phone up, you will see these red lights and stuff like that. And it's like, I hold my phone up around the corner and I still saw the same red light. So I think it's just more of a, you know, like it's not really nothing there anyway. So we did that. we did that whole thing. But on this tour guide, man, he was so knowledgeable. And I'm a history junkie. And so he started talking about voodoo. And then he was like, well, what do you know about voodoo? And I was like, that is demonic. That was my response.
Okay.
And he was like, young brother, young brother, young brother, young brother. That's what they told you. Now let me tell you what it is. And so I'm like, all right, cool. So he told me this whole story about how voodoo came to part because black folks could not read or write, right? So what they would do was they would take a doll, they would create it to look like the person who would come, and then they would sit it on the shelf. The whole purpose is there was no record keeping. So if you had a headache and you came to the doctor, they would create you a doll that looked like you, and then they would take the needle and stick it in the head. That way, when the doctor came and saw you, he can pick up your dial and see, okay, now last time you had a headache or last time you had shoulder pain, whatever. So he explains this, that voodoo was for record keeping. And, you know, somehow in translation, it became this demonic thing. It became to, you know, Disney and casting spells and just all this weird junk. But he was like, the very premise of it and the reason and the person who created it, it was for record keeping because black folks could not read or write. So now, with that being said, I didn't further research that, and I didn't because it sounded real believable to me. You know what I'm saying? But it just goes to show that how something can be intended for a reason and a purpose, and then it can be made out to be bad. Now everybody views this thing as bad, and oh, that's what I was going to say. So that thing. So the crazy thing about how everything was done and it was stripped from us. If you ask a black person what is black culture, they're probably going to say hip hop, right? Like that's what we know as black culture. We know hip hop. Further than hip hop, I'm not even sure, but hip hop was born in like in the 70s. We talking 50 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, it wasn't born that long ago for us. Like, no. So what was before that? It was like before hip hop. So there you go. That's not the foundation of our culture. So what is it? And it's like most people don't have an idea. And that's where we get lost. And that's where things like, you know, I don't know if this whole voodoo thing is correct or not. I didn't research it. I'm just telling you what the man told me in the story. But it just makes you wonder, like, what is our culture and what things would be normal to us if we have not been completely westernized.
Right.
Now, I want to back up a little bit. I'm going to.
I said a lot, I know.
Oh, you good, buddy.
Awesome.
And this is kind of lighthearted, but it does coincide with people thinking that's not of the Lord. So this past week, I think it was New Year's Eve.
Okay.
I posted.
I seen that.
I'm ready to party or something, whatever I said.
Yeah, I saw it.
And so that's all I post. Now, I went to the inbox of my Facebook page, and somebody had a problem with that. And this is what they said. They said, how can you be on there with those Christians, you two, and you're coming up with the world? They should kick you off the show. I said, should they? I was thinking into my head. So they said, so
oh my,
you're promoting the world and you're going out into the bars and getting drunk and maybe smoking weed. Oh,
they read all that into that one sentence.
Yes. All that. And so it's just funny how I guess I was being not of Christianity or of Jesus, and that what I did does not reflect good on the two of you.
Wow. You know what?
But I just thought it was interesting, and people formulating their mind just certain things.
You know what? As you know, the Holy Spirit gave me this revelation. I am a very much a revelatory preacher. The guy I feel like downloads, spiritual things to me, and that's just the way I preach, But the Lord showed me this thing about grace. So a little while ago, because I felt like in my own self, in my own walk, I had become self-righteous in a way.
Okay.
And what the Lord revealed to me is the same grace that I need from him is the same grace you need and you need from him. And so what we do is when we become self-righteous or whatever, we try to legislate the vulnerability of God's grace, but we cannot. God's grace either is sufficient or it's
Right.
not at all. And then there's this other thing that the Lord showed me, is that I'm losing it. We all have these things that may be good for us, but bad for other people.
For other people.
It's called I'm losing the word. It's called help me, Holy Spirit.
Help them, Holy Spirit.
It starts with a C. The word I'm looking for starts with a C, but I can't get convictions. I'm sorry. We all have different convictions.
Yes.
We all have different convictions. So what's wrong for me may not be wrong for you, and vice versa. And the Bible tells us in Romans hey, if you think it's right, go ahead and do it. That's what it says. It says, you know what I'm saying? But if you do something and you think it's wrong, then you have sinned. And I say that all to say about grace is we tend to look at ourselves and say, you know what? Well, I don't fornicate and I don't smoke. Right, so everybody who fornicates and smokes is bad. It is bad. And so we're legislating grace from what we do and from not God's standard. Right. You see what I'm saying? Because the Bible says that that our righteousness is that of a filthy rag. So I don't care what you don't do. I don't care if you don't drink. I don't care if you don't smoke. I don't care if you don't fornicate. That does not make you better than me, because God is the standard, not me and you.
That's right.
So you may not fornicate, but you may be overweight and you may eat too much. Gluttony is a sin. You may not fornicate, but you may talk too much. You may stir up drama too much. You may be in everybody else's business, clearly, too much. And so when we know that God is the standard and not us is the standard, we know that the grace of God cannot be legislated. We know that we all are in need of the same grace. So the areas in my life I may need grace in is not the same areas that you may need grace in. And I feel like this has been an undertone for a long time of dealing with the church and dealing with alcohol. Okay. So let me just say this. I'll just go on the record and say this. The Bible does not speak against the consumption of alcohol. The Bible speaks against drunkenness. It speaks of having too much of anything. You know what I mean? Yes. It talks about drunkenness, and if anything takes over your life to the point that you're so dependent on it more than you are God, then that becomes a problem, because something else is you laying something on the altar. So there's nothing wrong if a person wants to have a drink. It's nothing wrong if somebody wants to go out and have a funky good time and party. As long as they are within their spiritual convictions, it's not for you to judge them, because ultimately a true relationship with God is not about what we can and cannot do. It's about the freedom that we have in Him. And I'm so glad that I understand the grace of God, because my salvation is not a bound salvation, but my salvation is free. But there is certain things that I will not do. There is some places I will not go. It's not because if I go, is God going to strike me down? Right. It's just because I believe that the Lord has called me to be separated. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so there's certain places that I've deemed for myself that I'm not going to go. There's certain things that I'm not going to participate in, but that doesn't have to go for everybody. So I said all that to say this. Stop making your personal convictions Bible. Your personal convictions are not Bible. They are for you. And that's you it. Only. That's it.
And first of all, the judgment of the state that they made just from that one word, party.
Right.
Party could mean something totally different. So you made a judgment. You don't know. Party could mean, to me, I'm having a party in my bed because I get to go to bed early.
How about that?
Yep.
I'm having a party. I can watch TV, or I can. So party. When I read the statement,
it's relative.
Like, all right now, okay.
Yeah.
What so it's sad how we just judge. We just love to judge. We
love to judge.
And see, the
Bible says the same standard that you judge is going to be the same standard that judge you. So be careful. Be careful.
Coming right back.
I always say, judgment brings on separation, because then it separates you to begin to think or to either confirm that I'm better than you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't do that. So definitely you're underneath my feet.
Mm-hmm.
And as we, even if there was no spirituality involved, just as human beings, just as you age or as you should mature mentally. And so
Mm-hmm.
your concept of a lot of things that you may have had 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 5 years ago should kind of evolve or change when you learn and do better, or
Mm-hmm.
mostly when you learn better.
But what's
Right.
sad is that we have a lot of people who are stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Stagnant.
There, first, you have a lot of people who love tradition.
Yes.
Yep.
And so tradition is their law because the way we've always done it, this because the way
Yep.
this is how it's raised, because this
Mm-hmm.
is the way, whatever, tradition. But tradition can take you to hell.
It can.
It can. It can.
Because
Now,
there's no salvation
there's
in
a difference
tradition.
between tradition and biblical because
Yes, it
life
is.
changes. The world changes.
The
So
world.
you don't have to put God's standard down because things change. You can still hold God's standard up and allow the change to happen. And to allow to be changed. Because my statement is, as long as you have breath in your body, I'll give you 100 years old. If God wants you to change something in your life, then you need to change it.
And you need to change.
You need to change it. So tradition and heaven or hell issues, to me, I mean, we don't grow because we're not evolving. We're not changing. And like you said, we think we're perfect, or we think that what I'm doing is all good and all of that.
Yes.
But I don't think God operates like that. And I tell people all the time, I don't care how big a box you put God in, or you think your box is so big, you cannot box in God.
Not at all.
You can't box him in at all. So change has to happen. And as this world changes, hey, we have to change. You can be in the world, not of the world.
And not of the world. And that's the one thing that is constant, is change. And we have to be mature enough to recognize it, but we still hold fast and true in whatever our foundation and whatever our learning is in spirituality or anything in life. And we just maneuver. We maneuver around it. In case you're just tuning in and watching us, talking with JoAnne Tolson-Fuller, Justin Hearn, and yours truly, Rufus Beal. I see we have some new viewers today. I'd like to say hello to Donisha Shaw and Dr. Mary Jones. Dr. Mary Jones was part of Dr. Austin Curtis, who was the protege of George Washington Carver.
Wow.
And Dr. Curtis and Mary Jones, they had a laboratory on Selden, and they made all these products that were natural for skin, for your hair. And
I remember that. Yeah.
You remember that?
I used to use some of the products. Yeah.
And Justin, it was right down the street from your school.
Yep.
Down the street from your school. And they created this something for me for my beard when I was razor shaving, so that I wouldn't bump. But I said all that to say hello to Dr. Jones.
But I want to go back to something that you said about Black culture, and that people really don't know the Black culture. And it's sad because we don't have the storytellers in our families anymore.
No, we don't.
People in our families don't share, and we should be sharing good, bad, and ugly. We should be sharing our family history. We should be, I appreciate my parents, especially my dad, because I know I'm a descendant from a prince of Africa. I know that, and he told stories. I know good, bad, and ugly stories from family, about family, some of the history. And we need to get back to talking to family, talking to our children, telling them who we are, telling them why we should be proud of who we are, why we should be proud to be a Black American, and just just start talking again. Start talking. People, when they say if you don't know where you come from, you tend to repeat it.
Yes.
And I've seen it the past, especially the when Trump was in office, it was like they tried to take us back to the 50s.
All the way.
They did.
50s and 60s.
Yes.
They were literally trying to take us back. And so I'm like, and then people just didn't see it. And I'm thinking, okay, so you don't know your history, that you don't see
anything about
that
your
they're
history.
trying to, this is about to come full circle again. And we can't make this we can't allow this to come full circle again. So we need to start having storytellers in our family. And when I say storyteller, just somebody that you sit there. I love talking to old people, or I should say senior citizens. My
seasoned citizens.
But I do, because they have so much knowledge. And I mean, you take what you can use. If you can't use some of it, okay, no problem. But I just love to listen the stories that they have to tell. You know, how they grew up, the things that were going on back then. My parents, the stuff that was going, my grandparents. It's like, I'm not going back there.
Right.
But I appreciate all that they had to go through. And when you don't understand all that your family members, your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents had to go through to get where you are today. Hey, we think we've made it because we can basically work the job we want to work,
right.
Whatever school we want to go to, we can come and go as we please, basically around the world. But bottom line is, a few years ago, they tried to stop all of that.
Couldn't.
And when I was growing up, we used to travel at night.
Oh, wow.
Because we didn't have the fast food places. You didn't stop on the road going nowhere.
Right.
Especially at night. We always had a station wagon, so they made the bed in the back. My parents always packed the lunch. They packed sandwiches, packed food, because you didn't stop.
That's right.
Because you didn't know what you were going to come up against. We had to go. We used to go to the bathroom on the side of the road. You open up the front door, open up the back door. You better take care of your business and let's get in this car and let's keep moving. If you never lived that, if you don't understand that,
it's
what
so
I'm saying?
You're gonna lack an appreciation.
It's sad. You don't appreciate that you can stop now. I mean, now I only stop at truck stops when I'm traveling. Right. I don't stop at side gas stations and stuff. But when you don't understand the history of your people, you're missing out. First of all, and you don't appreciate. Like I said, a lot of people think we've made it now. Trust me, if some of them could, we'd be back.
Right.
And you really know you have to work. And we still know that we have to work a little harder. We have to study a little harder. We have to do a little more than they do. And I used to tell my son sometimes you might have to play the game so that you can advance.
Yes, you do.
And it's sad to say, but still today, sometimes you got to play the game so you can advance.
Yeah.
I was my first professional playing job was at a bar, and I was 18. I think I just had turned 18, and I was at the bar, and it was predominantly all white bar. And when these two older gentlemen came into the bar, they had to be pushing 90, had to, because they were helping each other. And I'm playing the piano, and they walked by me and they looked and they said, "Oh, when did they let you all in here?" Now, see, being 18, it went over my head at the time. And so I kept on playing and playing. And so at a point where I took a break, I asked them, I said, "What did you mean when they let me in here?" They said, "Oh, it was for only white established people and business people. It was right by GM on the boulevard when they were on the boulevard. And, we just didn't really take to blackies, being in here. And so when we saw you, we were shocked." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I thought to myself, Well, where have you all been?
Mm-hmm.
That you didn't know that Black people are up, out, and about. And I, years later, when I kind of thought about it, I said, well, probably because they stuck to their own environment. They didn't come out of it. They didn't live in the city, but they came to the bar because this bar had been in existence for years and years and years. And they were going down memory lane. And memory lane did not include a Black person in that building.
That building.
So, it's something about knowing certain things and having the history and the awareness of how people think and how they process what they do and what they see.
Yeah, and I think that something that's real interesting though is that school portrays, like, when you go to school and you learn history and you learn Black history, you learn about the civil rights movement. That's where it starts.
That's right.
Like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and you know what I'm saying? It's like, but before Black people were fighting for freedom, we still were here, but we have literally been erased. I mean, like, I don't even know. I mean, I'm pretty sure I can go to the library and try to find some book on Black culture, before, but
Definitely.
we basically came here and had to create culture. You know what I mean? And you look years and years and years later, and you still see people operate from that slave mentality. Whether it's the mentality of, I'm still, no shade to anybody that eat pig feet and all that type of stuff, but in my research, that was parts of the pig that the white folks didn't want. Right. So Black folks had to eat it. You know what I mean? Right. That don't mean it's good for you. You know, exactly. You know what I'm saying? But we still doing that. Even my dad, he has the mentality, and my dad is 70. My dad was born in 1950, 54, I believe. He's actually born in Meridian, Mississippi, and migrated up here when my grandfather got a job at Bud making $5 an hour. So he remembers the South, to a capacity and whatnot. And my dad has a he has this thing that he tried, like, if I buy him something new, whatever, he hangs up in the closet. He's proud of it. He'll tell everybody, look what I got, but he won't wear it.
He won't wear it.
He won't wear it. Aww. And so it's like, where do you think? I mean, like, what are you waiting for? Like, what day is going to be the day to wear that? It's a swear, dude. Just wear it. Wear it to the store. Right. It doesn't matter. But it's the mentality, like, I gotta save it. You know what I mean? But it's like, what are you saving it for? And you look in those mentalities. Hundreds of years later, is still there. And so we're talking about not change, leaving stuff in the past, and different stuff like that, JoAnne. So I want to know from you guys, what are you not bringing in 2022? What are you not bringing? What's staying? Because you said Trump tried to take us back. We said we ain't going back.
He's not going back.
So I want to know, what's staying, and what died and stayed in 22 and did not live to come over to see this new year.
I am trying to leave procrastination.
Okay, that's a good one.
That's a hard one too.
It is.
And I'm trying to, because I know I've missed out on a lot of different things because of my procrastination and because of my, I'm just going to be, because of my insecurity that I'm not good enough for certain things. So I'm praying and I'm trying to leave that in 2021.
Okay.
Rufus, what are you leaving?
Let's see here.
Uh-oh.
Where's the camera? I got my list.
Ooh.
No.
Are you serious?
Oh God.
You know what?
You got a scroll.
What I have left, and is our people.
And that's good.
It was amazing the other day, and I was just thinking and reflecting, and I said, the relationships that were relative 10 years ago that may not be now, out. It's not a dislike or anything like that, but
Right, right.
I want to definitely surround myself with like minds, people that are doing something, going somewhere, people that have experienced things that can share with me and say, well, don't do that way. Think about this way. And so I will say that's what I'm leaving.
That's good.
That's what I left, I should say.
That's what you left.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
good.
what about you, Justin?
You know, I'm leaving behind. So I feel like I'm a good person and I try to do good to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And in that effort, I don't do anything to look for something in return. You know what I mean? Because I take care of myself and God is all through my source. But I look for I have been guilty of looking for like reciprocation from certain people in
Okay.
certain relationships. And you know, and I feel like that because of that I have felt, down and and I'll just be honest, a couple months ago I was promoted, to be an executive pastor in that role. And it's been, it's been good, it's been on God. Definitely, this was prophesied over me when I was 13 years old. If you knew me when I was a child, this was becoming. So this is evident that this is indeed God. That this is not something that
A true
I just
calling.
a
Right.
true calling. It's not nothing that I just happened. This has been on me for a long time. It's just
Yes,
I
it has.
finally walked. I'm walking into it. And you think that certain people who had a hand in your development and your upbringing and stuff like that, you would think that they would make a way to contact you to say, "Hey, I'm proud of you," to say something, to just
Encourage.
acknowledge, not even encourage,
Okay, acknowledge.
just acknowledge that this is what I'm walking into.
Mm-hmm.
And and they didn't. And I know they seen it. You know what I mean? I know that they did. And for it's like, and just recently, um somebody else, a friend of mine, not like a friend, but an associate of mine, was promoted recently. And he in a Facebook post went out and he, posted whatever. And this particular person wrote, "Congratulations,"
Okay.
all over it. And when I seen that, it just took me back and I said, so you do know how to congratulate. You do know how to say good job, pat on the back.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to me, you're silent. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that silence when you should say something, when you should acknowledge, So I guess what I'm saying, I said all that to say, just being transparent, is that the expectations of people reciprocating the love that I give them. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm no longer looking for that. Like, no hard feelings or nothing like that. But it's just so I'm no longer going to hold because even now, if this person needed anything, you know what I mean? Like it's family to the point where I will be like, all right, I'm there. I got you covered. You know what I mean? Like I got you whatever.
Yes.
But it's like, but when you can't fix your mouth or to text me or just to say something,
I
and
see you.
you could
Right.
and you congratulate other people, and I know that because this is news all around. So you knew. So it's just like, okay, well, I'm leaving behind, or I'm not expecting relationships to be reciprocated. That's number one. And
Good.
at the same time, I'm no longer holding place in my life for those people.
Who
You know
don't?
what I mean? So it's like, so where I would drop everything and be on a rescue,
That's right.
I can't do that because you've shown me that's not the type of relationship we have. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I'm leaving, I'm moving forward and I'm leaving behind expectations from people. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, my expectation comes from God. And as long as God and my wife proud of me, that's the
How about
only
Yes.
thing that matters.
that? And that's growth there.
That's growth.
JoAnne, Dr. Mary Jones says, you took the words out of my mouth. JoAnne, stay in the now, and I will say stay in the now and stay focused. Now, the day I need my glasses, I don't have them on. That's vanity. But yeah, she says stay in the now and stay focused. Thank you, Dr. Jones, for that comment.
That is so important, Justin. What you were saying is, and it can be, because I've been there, and that was kind of my 2021 was, Lord, just help me to be who you want me to be, but I'm not looking for anything. It's from anybody else, because and I don't. When I do, and I really don't look, but it's like every now and then, Lord, something.
You just want to be you want to be appreciated.
Something.
That people,
right?
That people know they appreciate you.
But I've learned, and it does hurt. It does hurt. It's a hurting feeling. But I've had to say, okay, you know what, Lord, I'm not gonna stop doing. I'm not gonna stop being who you have me to be. But some things have got to change, because people show you who they are. They show you whether they're true friends or not. They show you whether they really do love you or care about you or not. But because, and I say what I said because at one point I was like, I ain't doing nothing for nobody ever again. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I ain't forever. But the Lord had to spank me and say, all right now.
Okay.
All right now.
Who's giving you the power to be able to do that?
Thank you very much. So
that's
I was like, okay, Lord, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm gonna be who I, like you said. If I see you, you need me. Okay, no problem.
Maybe, but
guess what?
Maybe not. If I'm free, I'm not
available, or if
I'm not available.
I understand, but that is it's a hurting feeling, but it does take it takes a strong person.
Yes, it does. First to acknowledge it,
to acknowledge and to say,
and then to move forward in that behavior,
and to admit to yourself that bothers you, that hurt you, that
So I'm not looking for a parade. I ain't looking for no money. I ain't looking for no gift. But you should say something. You should acknowledge.
You would think
that even if you got word, you would be calling and acknowledging and trying to try to say something. You should be doing something, but you just gonna be silent.
Just all the way.
You're just gonna be silent. And and I'm not one to have haters, and I never think me and Reggie Dozier, the son, we have this running joke. Rufus,
okay, Reggie Dozier,
yeah, we have this joke that people be like, oh, especially preachers, it tell your haters, like, who got all them haters? Ain't nobody think about you, boy.
If I have haters, I don't know about it. Unless you come and told me I've had haters. And I mean, I shouldn't say I know people, but I don't. My mindset is not worried about all these other folks out here.
Right. So I'm not one to think
you go crazy.
That I got haters or anything like that. But when somebody is in your life and they've served a purpose in your life, and in seasons in your life they become silent, then I don't know what else to take your silence is. You see what I'm saying? Exactly. Because ain't nothing wrong with you, but when it's time for me, when it's my turn, when it's I'm the one who who's finishing this or who's doing this, you're silent. I ain't saying you a hater, but you don't support me. You know what I'm saying? You don't support me.
Right.
I mean, you don't support me.
Because even if they said, I see you, Justin, do your thing. I mean, whatever. Just something. But just acknowledge the fact that, this was the calling on my life, and now I'm living in the fruition of this calling.
Yes,
exactly.
Now it's coming to fruition, and now this is, God has moved me to another level.
Right.
But you'd be surprised the people, and they won't admit it, but you'd be surprised the people that are jealous, the people that, and jealous because a lot of times it's because they didn't do what they were supposed to be doing. It didn't come to fruition in their life for whatever reason. And whatever it might be. So you would be surprised that sometimes the jealousy of others, that's what it is a lot of times.
And see that will make you, a double take. There was an instance that I was working on this project, and I finished the project, and I told a buddy of mine at the time, what happened, and And he said to me, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Oh, anybody can do that." He hasn't. He
Right.
still hasn't.
Right.
His son hasn't. So, and I'm not trying to. Okay, JoAnne. Okay, JoAnne. But I said all that to say, why you go there with it?
Wow.
You know,
why didn't you just say congratulations?
I just say,
Proud
oh,
of you.
okay, would have been fine. But just
You
to
know
say
what, though?
that ain't nothing.
And
You
I
haven't done
guess
anything
the growth in
to
me
me.
is realizing is that people sometimes cannot escape their own insecurity.
Right.
You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? See, there's something that I read in this book by I can't think if he's a pastor and a great worship leader. I can't think of his name, is escaping me right now. But he got this thing in his book, and it's called righteous envy. Righteous envy. And righteous envy is when you see something or you see somebody that may be doing better than you,
Righteous
or that
envy.
may be when you see somebody doing something that's great, whatever, you, instead of you being like, he just him, or really anybody can do that, you aspire to do it. You know,
Yes.
I put something on Facebook a couple weeks ago or a week ago, and it said, you know, I'm believing God that one day I can take my whole entire family on a trip.
Yeah,
Well,
I saw
that was
that.
righteous. That was righteous envy for me, because Pastor Michael Todd literally took his whole family, and I said, "Oh my goodness, that is so dope! That Lord, I want to do that. Help me, Lord, so that I can do that." So now I'm believing God that one of these days I'm gonna be able to take all my family on a trip. But you know, some people,
Amen.
they see what you're doing, they compare it to themselves, and they stay there with it. And it's like some people cannot escape their own insecurities. Whereas I can say as a man, hey man, you killed it. You did a good job. Because
Right.
you know what I mean? Or you did a good job. Or man, them shoes, or man, that hat, that looks good on you. You
Yes.
know what I mean? Some people can't.
They
And it's
can't.
like, and I think oftentimes too, we think, at least me, because I'm 28 years old, whatever. And so a lot of, even now, like, I got senior pastors that are my friends. You know what I mean? That these guys been doing this thing for a long time, and whatnot, whatever. But a lot of times, I keep losing my train of thought. Maybe is it COVID? Is it COVID making my mind go? What's going on? What's going
In the
on?
vein.
Right, Jesus.
COVID
But
brain today, that's all right.
yeah, but I was trying to say, like, I know all these guys that's older than me. That's what I would say. And sometimes when I think about my friend, my average friend normally is 5 to 7 years older than me. So with
Yeah,
age, you think comes maturity. You know what I mean? You
of
think
course.
comes knowing better. You think, and it's like sometimes age don't mean that. I can handle myself mentally and emotionally better than you can, and you 10 years older than me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that's just growth is just not always with age.
That's right.
And
That's
I've
true.
had to learn that.
That's true.
And that's the only way that we're going to be able to accomplish our goals, to aspire to higher heights, is with growth.
Yes.
And having and asking that a God will work within our minds to open them up, to place us in the arenas that we should be, that He wants us to be in.
Amen.
We can be around the right type of person
Yeah.
that can teach us. Now, I was the last person to be around these historical disc jockeys, and I'm talking about in the history of Black air personalities. So we're talking about a Ramon Henderson, Jay Butler, Martha Jean LeQueen, Bertha Harris, Claude Sir Young. All of these cats, when I got into the business, they had been in the business 40 years. And they were at a stage in their life, well, Ramon wasn't, but the others were at a stage in their life mentally that they wanted to help me and to share with me and to pour into me what they learned over all the years. And that's the only way that we can grow.
Yes, but that's
Mm-hmm.
you know what, but that's when you're secure within yourself, and
Yes.
Yes.
you know what, you can pass the mantle, and passing the mantle doesn't take anything away from you.
No, it doesn't.
It really doesn't. Passing the mantle is you're passing the mantle to teach. You're passing the mantle. You know, this is how I did it. Now there's some things you can take, some things you probably can't
You
take
can.
down the road. But
Hmm.
guess what? I'm passing the mantle, and
Mm,
I'm telling you,
that's good.
it's.
I'm posting that,
Yes.
JoAnne. I give you your credit. I give you credit. I'll tag
The
you in it,
first
but I'm
time
posting that. I'm
Listen,
tagging you. First time I use it is yours. The second time is mine.
is yours.
I just want you to know. But passing the mantle does not take nothing from you. It
But
don't.
you know, when Justin expressed, and Justin was a child, when he expressed to me that he wanted to learn organ, I was like, okay.
Sure
And I,
did.
I let him get. Not I let him, but he got on the organ. It wasn't no, he can't because I'm the
Mm-hmm.
organist here. He was a young child with
Mm-hmm.
a desire to learn, and what little I knew, I was going to share with him. And Justin, from just his desire to do that, he started playing to the offering, and he was
Mm-hmm.
diligent in his practice, and he was learning
And
weird songs.
and Rufus and big ups to people like you because you found room for me when you didn't have to. Like you just said, I play for offering. You let me play for offering. You see what I'm saying? It was your job to play. You allowed me to do that. You gave me something to perfect or to look forward to. And you ultimately, are responsible for helping me grow as a musician. I learned it. I
amen.
watched you, and you created that space for me. Like you literally did. You know what I mean? Like you literally let me. So I just didn't want to let that moment pass, but I wanted to say thank you because you did.
Amen. Amen.
I think you muted,
You're
Rufus.
on mute. You're on mute, Rufus.
Yeah.
How many years ago was it? Well, no, don't answer that. Wait.
Oh.
Wait.
You almost had me choking on my water.
No.
You really want to know?
That came out
Oh
so
man.
fast. It was like, ooh.
Mhm.
Let me
I
say
didn't see that
this.
question. I didn't see
Right.
So what JoAnne said about passing the mantle has nothing. Repeat that, Justin.
It takes nothing away from you.
It took nothing
It
away from
doesn't.
me.
It
Nothing
doesn't.
away
Yep.
It
from me.
doesn't. You're teaching. And that's why we have people now who, you know, can't sew a button on,
Right.
can't cook, can't do something. Not just that, but even in life, because we did not pass that
Mm-hmm.
mantle. We did not
Yeah.
try to. Some people did try. I mean, and, some people it's a gift, and some people have a knack for stuff. But
Yeah.
passing the mantle does not take anything from
And
Nothing.
you.
and this will
I'm
have
not
to
gonna
be
be here
another show.
forever.
Right.
This will have to be another show. But I gotta say this. When you look at now, when you look at our big churches now, look in the city, we
Mm-hmm.
look at, we look at Second Ebenezer, we look at all these great big churches. If you ask them or just look closely, you can see there's no succession plan.
None.
There's nobody that's
None.
clear cut. Like if you go today, this person is gonna lead us forward. And that's
It's sad.
sad.
That's
It's
It's
sad.
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 I mean,
And
even
that's
our
why,
young people.
Even our
When I
young
was coming
people.
up, we had junior deacons and junior ushers and
Exactly.
because they were teaching the young people how to do. So when it was time for them to sit down, now it's time for you to take over.
yep,
Justin, you're so right.
They
You
would.
don't see that
You
you don't
know.
see it
anymore.
no
You don't
more.
see it.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's why,
They
and
go,
it's
they take
crazy
that
too.
mantle and put it. I watched
In
their
the closet.
sermon. They take the mantle to the grave with them. It's in the
Oh.
casket with
It's in
them.
the grave. It's in the grave.
It's
Think
in
about
the
like,
grave with them.
and I
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not trying
They
to,
don't
I'm
want to
not
let
trying to,
go.
No. And don't.
I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to speak bad on anybody, but this just true facts. Okay, one of the Baptist church greatest, Dr. Jones, that was the pastor of Mount Zion on
Zion.
Van Dyke. Now, Pastor Jones was sickly for probably his last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about barely making it,
Right. Ill.
sick.
Ill.
He's been gone now for at least 5 years. At least 5 years now, probably more than that. And they just elected a pastor this year. That church has been without a pastor for all of that time.
Wow.
Very sad.
And that's because some people are taking the mantle to the grave.
Mhm.
They
And there's no
are.
way that if you're leading a church, you're leading an organization, you're leading this thing, that you should not have a succession plan in place. That you shouldn't have. You should, if you live to be that old, and and you become sick, you should put somebody in place so the church wouldn't have to go 5 years without a
5 years.
pastor. But that's what happens now. I mean, and it's so many, especially in the Baptist church right now, that's
Mhm.
happening because we're living in a generation of higher pastors. That's just what it is. These founding pastors have most of them have died or went on or stuff like that, and so now we're in a generation of higher pastors, and guys are getting these jobs, getting these churches, and they think and believe that they are the voice, the
Yes.
only voice
The only.
for the church. And we got to stop
Yes.
doing that. That's
Yeah.
flawed.
We
You can be a pastor, you can lead your church, but ultimately it's God's church. And
Mhm.
That's right.
and it's fivefold ministry. You know what I'm saying? You
Yes.
ain't got to be
Yes.
the only one that's preaching and teaching. You got to be raising somebody up. And that's why I'm so thankful for Pastor Sam uh, at Conquer's Church, because he literally empowers me. He literally
Good.
Amen.
allows me to operate, and he literally shares his pulpit. He really does.
That's wonderful.
Amen.
That's wonderful. All right, before we go, we like to say hello to Felicia Wise, who's first time listener
Amen.
and or viewer, and I see Dr. Mary Jones. Thank you, Dr. Jones, for being our first time listener as well, and adding into the comments. Before we go, JoAnne, I don't want to end on a sad note, but I wanted to share this information um, about my cousin, Vera Jennings Lee. Now,
Mm.
Vera Jennings Lee has made her transition as of yesterday.
Okay.
And so Vera is the niece to Alice Bronner, cousin
Oh.
to Antoine,
Uh-huh.
and to Trafini and Christine and to Donisha. Now, you know, Vera, I met when Vera and I connected as children, and she would come into the room and she would just light it up. It always bubbly, always smiling, very silly. We would play around in the pool and just have a great fun. And then, as we became older, we went into our certain careers. She was able to have a little daughter, and her daughter is grown now. However, Brianna, and her dad was a minister in Savannah, Georgia,
Mm.
Pastor Jennings, and she comes her mother, who is the sister to Alice, and this is
Okay.
Vivian Jennings. And
Okay.
so they had all daughters. They were very active into the church, and Vera played piano, and her daughter, plays piano as well. Vera had survived cancer, and in the town or in the city of Savannah, she was able to go and put a choir together, and for all of the survivors. And so she was just truly, truly just remarkable person. She would come up when the family would come here to Detroit, and we would all, Alice and I and the family, we would go over to Greater Grace because they were spiritually connected, had a
Mm-hmm.
spiritual foundation, and they would just have a great time. And I just wanted to say, acknowledge Vera Jennings Lee, to her husband, to her sisters, to
Yeah.
Alice, and
Yeah.
everyone. You have our love and our support during these
Yeah,
times
for
Amen.
sure.
talking to, and we know that God is able to keep and sustain you during these trying
Yes.
times.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
rarely will something move me, but I was on the phone when Alice sent me the message, and it choked me, and that doesn't happen, often, but it just speaks to the type of person that she was, and that her
Hmm.
spirit, spirit never dies, and her legacy and everything that she's contributed to the kingdom and to the lives of people
Yeah.
will always be remembered. She just recently got married again.
Oh.
And everything was posted. It was during COVID, and so it was streaming. And the last time we were together was earlier this year when they came for Uncle Frank's service.
Okay.
Alice's brother. Remember,
Yeah.
we kind of discussed about that, and Vera was here, and we hung out and acted silly as we always would. I just wanted to acknowledge that. So now, having said that, JoAnne and Justin, this is our last show for a break. So we're going to be back, and we're going to air all of our shows from now until we return. So it has great information. We're going to also play the information for the tax lady. What was her name? Please forgive me. She shares so much information. Nicole about taxes, and so it's still going to go through. It's going to be the best of the best of the best. Wait, JoAnne, did you see the post I did about the BBBs?
I did.
When I saw Justin, I said that Justin would be the one to respond. So I want the BBBs to get ready now tomorrow and get up and give us.
Tell everybody what the BBBs are.
Oh, I'm sorry, Big Belly Boys.
Tell them what they are.
Big Belly Boys.
Big Belly Boys. I would stand, but I have too much pride. But
I'm not bringing nothing else over to you. I'll bring some vegetables.
That will work. But Justin, give us one tip for those of us who are going to seriously put this into our focus on January 3rd, because we always got to wait till Monday.
Right. Always wait till Monday.
Amen.
I think a lot of people think about dieting, right? You think about dieting, you think about, I'm going low carbs, you think about, I'm doing heavy fats, whatever. Statistics has showed that whatever diet you choose to do, whether you decide to do intermittent fasting, whether you decide to do the low carb diet, the keto diet, whatever diet that you consistently stick with will be the one that gives you the results. So it doesn't matter if you're going to do keto, it doesn't matter if you're going to do intermittent fasting, but whatever you do it with consistency. It takes 21 days to build a habit. So always try to do whatever you're going to do for 21 days. Let it get in your identity. Let it get in your spirit. Set alarms for it. Pack a bag for it. Whatever you do. But if you can make it 21 days doing it, it becomes a part of you. And then you'll start to feel dirty or nasty if you don't do it. You'll start to feel off if you don't do it. And therefore, your body will crave it. So whatever you do it for 21 days. And it doesn't matter as long as you're doing something,
Sounds like a winner. So let me add this for the viewers. Now, if there is a certain type of subject that has relevance, now we're gonna pop right back on and gonna have some conversation about that.
Let's do it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Relevant topics just slide by while we are redoing what we doing to make it look better and make it rise to higher heights.
Yes.
So we just wanted to say that. JoAnne, in closing.
Yes, I you know what? Just ask God to show you what He desires for you in your life.
Praise God.
Someone told me, God gave you all the gifts. He didn't give me nothing. I had to tell them God gave everybody something.
Yes.
Something.
You just need to ask God what it is in your life. So, 2022, just ask God, what is it that you would have me to do? What is it that I need to be doing? And he will reveal it to you. If you are truly sincere, he will reveal it to you.
Yes, he will.
So that's just my thing for today.
All right.
Amen.
All right, JoAnne and Justin, you all have a great weekend. And as always, it's been an honor.
Yes.
Have a great one, everybody.
Peace out. Love
Peace
y'all.
out.